Okay, great. So this is our training for the 27th of January, 2022. It's going to be a good year. So what we're studying today is, so we've been studying study management, and we're now doing protocol training. How do you view a protocol? What the purpose is, the vision of the protocol, and then we're doing the science of getting rich week 4, which is gratitude. So let's talk about the protocol. And this is a summary of what I always discuss. I know, Liz, you haven't been here. I look at a protocol as operational versus clinical. The operational piece really has to do with us who are, with project managers, CRAs, QA people, safety. So that operational piece is really figuring out, how do we deliver the clinical side? So how do we ensure that, everything that is required by the protocol is actually integrated and, rules are adhered to and it's managed? Then I also talk about the protocol objective. A protocol is really there to align with the vision of the project, programs, the portfolio, and the company, right? So let's say we have a dermatology protocol to, for patients with maybe mild to moderate atopic dermatitis. Okay, we have that going on, but then we write the protocol. We're going to be studying this subset of patients who actually have that disease condition. So that protocol is aligning with the vision of helping patients in that field. But then if we're working for a company who is in the dermatology space, and that aligns to their vision as well. And then I always talk about the project like a massive ocean. Protocols are like the little streams that are feeding into the ocean. The CRA's focus, or CRA, you're in Q, you guys are both in Q, but you know what I mean. The focus as a clinical research associate or clinical research professional is that we're constantly monitoring those various streams that are leading to the ocean. It's like the streams have to go to the ocean. And one way or the other, right? But we absolutely want to make sure that these rivers and streams do not deviate so much. So when deviations occur, like maybe we have one stream that is supposed to be heading west into the ocean, it starts going east and it starts going south. We try to make sure that it gets back on track, and then we document the reason why it's deviating. Okay, did it encounter an obstacle? Maybe that's a site that has an obstacle going on. Maybe there's something that they don't understand, and then we train them. So that's really what it is. We're really guiding the clinical research trial. You're guiding it from the level of the clinical research site as a clinical research associate, and I'm guiding it from the level of the project. That's what it is. So today we're going to talk about assessment of efficacy in clinical trials as documented in the protocol. So it is required that the protocol has to specify what the efficacy parameters are. So just to recap, when you think about the stages of clinical trials, right? We know that phase 1 is safety, phase 2, safety, efficacy, phase 3, more efficacy, and then phase 4 is, we've already approved it. We're trying to see what are the efficacious things and actually come from it. So I want you to think about that. When you think about efficacy, you always want to think about the stage of the clinical trial. If you're in a phase 3 clinical trial, you know there's going to be a lot on efficacy, because we're really trying to figure out, okay, we know that the drug is safe. Now the question is, at what intake can it actually make a difference? Maybe we in phase 1, we're like, oh yeah, it's there's no toxicity. Maybe we've seen some adverse events that are really nothing to be bothered about, or anything that is a cause for concern. So then efficacy is, okay, we have to make sure that how many pills are these patients taking, right? Maybe we've noticed that in phase 2, we noticed that we had maybe 5 different cohorts of patients. We had those that were taking this substance twice a day, some were taking it once a day at different grams. And so phase 2 is a lot of, safety also, but there's a lot of efficacy in phase 2, a lot more. But by the time that you get to phase 3, you've already determined most of those parameters. So when you're looking at a protocol, you want to also make sure that what is the what phase are we in? Because the phase that you're in is going to determine the type of efficacy parameters. When you're dealing with phase one, there is a bit of efficacy, but honestly, it's really the safety piece. That is the most important part. You're doing PK, PD, you're making sure how is it absorbed? What are the adverse events? Is it safe? So that's really what you're looking at. And then phase two is heavy, still a little bit of safety always, but efficacy is huge in phase two as well. And then phase three is like just wrapping things up. A phase three protocol, phase two, they've done all these cohorts. Actually, one of my consulting gigs is, I'm managing 6 countries, and we have per protocol, we have about 8 cohorts. It's a cardiovascular study with 8 cohorts. It's phase 2A, and there's another phase 2B. And it's different cohorts, and I worked on those before many times. We typically have the patients enroll per cohort, and then we take a look at what the data is showing, and then we decide, okay, are we going to proceed or not? So that's really important. In the protocol, of course, they want to show the methods and timing for assessing, recording, and analyzing efficacy parameters. We'll go into the protocol for that. What are the methods, right? I mean, how are we actually assessing efficacy? That's going to be the protocol. How are we timing it? How are we recording it? How are we analyzing it? Then safety. So we talked, efficacy didn't have a lot because we actually, this is what is interesting, that is ironic, I find, in the industry. We run clinical trials for efficacy. We're trying to see if this product can actually work, and at what dose can it work, or a device, right? I mean, if we insert it into somebody's body, is it going to work? So that's efficacy, but safety is more important in clinical trials, because it doesn't matter how efficacious a product is, if patients cannot consume it or something happens when they take it, that trial is going to be shut down. So safety is the most important piece, right? So what you'll notice is that as you look at clinical trial protocols, and we're going to dive deep into the one that we're currently looking at, safety it's woven into every aspect of the clinical trial. Every operational piece of the clinical trial has safety. It has safety in it. The way that we're collecting data, the way that we are dealing with patients, the investigational product, the safety of, just think about how we have to keep the product at a certain temperature. If it's a drug, we have to make sure it's apart from everything. And so that's that's all safety. So we have to specify safety parameters, of course. How do we assess it? How do we record it as well? And then how are we reporting adverse events? As you know, everything builds up. So say you're a QA person or CRA at a clinical research site. When you're monitoring and making sure that all the adverse events are actually recorded properly and that they're properly tracked and they're in the database, when I come in as a project manager and say we're preparing for a submission to the regulatory authorities, that's what I work at. I look at protocol deviations, of course, but safety, adverse events, all of that, that's part of the reporting that we have to do, whether it's quarterly reporting to the FDA or the EMR or the PDMA in Japan, whatever, or Canada Health, whatever regulatory authority, whatever data that they need, we have to make sure that we actually give that to them. So when you're looking at any data that's related to safety at a clinical research site, just remember that everything adds up. If there's something that is not done, then as you're doing all the analysis, whether it's doing the trial or at the end, it's going to be more follow-up and more work. And just to recap, we're studying this at the level of my methodology of thinking when I'm looking at a clinical trial protocol. So that's why I'm explaining all of this. And then we also have to define the type and duration of the follow-up of subjects after adverse events. Now it's even become more strict. You have to follow up with patients. If a patient has an ongoing adverse event, we have to make sure that we do those 2 weeks follow-up. Some studies have a 1 month follow-up. Usually will be like a telephone report. You call the patient after 1 month to check if that event has actually resolved, right? And so that's really what that is about. I'm going to go into the protocol now. So let me do a new share. Okay, so let's go into efficacy. So this protocol is this is an open access protocol. That I know you were not here. I pulled it from clinicaltrials.gov. There's a trend now where a lot of the small and upcoming companies are now having, like, you have open access data, right, where everybody can use something, and it's no longer like confidential where you can't see. So this is an open access protocol that I actually pulled, and we've been studying it, and we did objectives and all of that good stuff. And now let's take a look at how, I mean, it's all interwoven. So even the primary objective itself has to do with safety. We have our objective, but then how do we go about making sure that this objective is in alignment with the efficacy of our treatment and keeps the patient safe? So again, all interwoven. Key secondary objectives is there. Then of course we have our safety objectives. These are all the things that we're going to look at to ensure that we are making sure that our product is safe, the patients are safe, right? We have to make sure that the patients are safe, as well as the way that we are administering this product. For this clinical trial list, it's a clinical trial that it's a company that deals with Schedule 1 drugs, and they do psychotherapy and the Schedule 1 drug. So like here, they're going to compare the relative incidence of AEs during the experimental session that may be indicative of a medical complication of the investigational product. So they're looking at two things. So the patients are taking the product, but then they also go through a psychoanalysis, or they go through psychotherapy. So in this case, it's like two branches. It's basically like two different protocols in one, because you have the psychotherapy side of it, and you have the drug that is being administered. And so every single safety parameter has to ensure that all of those aspects are taken into account when that is being done. Then we have our exploratory objectives, the other things that we're actually looking at, and that also has to do with the efficacy as well. So something that I wanted to also mention is that I say efficacy is like it's in the protocol, but it's like a shy lady that you have to coax, because this is what is interesting. If you do all that things right, if you follow your primary objectives, you make sure the patients are safe and the product actually works, efficacy just aligns with that, right? So we have to define what efficacy is, which is, okay, at what point does our product actually work? So like this clinical trial, we have a screening period, we have a preparatory period, and then we have the following period, and then we have the invitation to participate in a long-term follow-up study. So if we follow this study design and we meet our primary and secondary objectives, and the product is actually working, efficacy automatically just flows into that, really. It is because we have to make sure that, we also have to know at what point is the efficacy of our drug. How can we actually track that? Well, we have to have primary endpoints, right? The primary objective, the secondary objective. If we don't meet our objective, we might have a clinical trial where we meet all the safety parameters as well. However, the product doesn't work. We're saying that, if the patient takes the product at week 1, and then maybe month 1, right? So week 1, month 1, by month 1, we should see that it will do this, and that. Based on past trials, by the time that they've had 1 month of drug, they should have a lowered whatever illness that they have. Let's say it's a statin drug, in the cardiovascular space. We say maybe by month 1, they should have lowered cholesterol, or it's a high blood pressure medication, their high blood pressure has gone down by month 1. But if by month 1 we don't see anything, right, nothing really happens, then efficacy is compromised, because we don't, what we claim that we're actually, the patient is taking. So let me back up. So this is what I'm getting at. If you cannot show efficacy, it doesn't matter how safe the product is. Even if you conduct an amazing clinical trial, the product will not go through. But you never have to compromise efficacy. You never have to compromise safety for efficacy. That's what I was getting to. Always, when you're monitoring at a clinical research site, safety is always number 1. Efficacy, by the time that you're in phase 3, the drug has some efficacy. The only thing is at what dose, how can we actually ensure that it's the right group of patients taking it, and right group of patients that is actually doing what we have planned that is supposed to do. We're actually meeting the primary objective, but we never want to compromise safety for efficacy. It's okay if you pay attention to safety and yet the product doesn't really work. So that's it. So clinical trials, there's a balance between safety and efficacy, but the burden is more on safety. Safety is more important. Yes, we want to prove that this product works. This is the different milestones that we've set, the different points at which we prove efficacy. These are our primary objective. By month one, they're going to take drug at month one and then month two and all of that stuff. But we never want to compromise safety because it's really important. And the reason why many times people get into trouble in this industry, whether it's at the site level, is always for safety reasons. No matter how well the product works, even if you're at a clinical research site where, it's some eye drops for glaucoma intraocular pressure. I mean, they basically take it the first day and their glaucoma is gone. Intraocular pressure is down. I mean, it is, which is unheard of, but really, it's like, oh my goodness, this product. Then they come and find out that the patient was not consented properly. They did not record the products that were being given to them. Some procedures, they compromise safety. They're going to throw it out. Doesn't matter how good the product works. If you're not running your clinical trial in such a way that reflects safety and integrity of the data, that's it. So there are products that you guys probably have heard about that they say, oh, this product was shelved and then we brought it back. Some other company buys it. It's just because, there's some situations where people don't adhere to these rules because they're so all about, we want to show that there is efficacy, but we're going to compromise safety. So enough about that. I just wanted to drill that into you guys' head. Doesn't matter what they tell you. I've been in situations where they're like, oh, Tengu, we have to, let's make sure we get this data now as quickly as possible. We have submissions coming up and all that stuff. I still have to make sure that safety is not compromised. That's what is supposed to happen. Okay, perfect. So now we've looked at the safety parameters. And the other thing is, like I said, it's interwoven into the protocol. If you look at the study procedures, everything about a clinical trial protocol, whether it's this study schema or the study design, is created in such a way that we safely conduct the trial, but we have to do all of this to prove that our product can actually work. Okay, so that's just really what it's about. And again, like I said, every single aspect of the clinical trial protocol has safety interwoven. The planned duration of the study. Okay, this all has to do with, okay, we know that at what point is going to be the efficacy will happen. The planned duration, look at interruptions due to COVID is all part of safety discontinuation. So a clinical trial protocol really from the beginning to the end is all about safety. Every single aspect has to take safety of patients into consideration. Otherwise, we can just keep running it on animals, right? Yeah, because when it comes to human beings, we have to be really careful. So that's really it for safety and efficacy per the ICH GCPs. My main takeaway is that we never compromise the safety of a clinical trial because there's evidence that the product is actually working and patients are having an amazing time. So we're just like, oh, wow, now they're going to prove this. We don't need to do much. No matter what's happening at a clinical research site, we know that every single product that we are involved in, we have to manage a trial in such a way that patients are protected. Because why? The patient could be a mother, it could be a sister, it could be somebody that you know, right? It could be. But so we have to treat them like that, and then we have to make sure that, there's no bias. We had some situations where the principal investigator gets so excited and then he starts cutting corners. I've had that happen for some ophthalmology studies. He started just cutting corners because the product was actually working. There was all this rush. You don't want that. Absolutely not. And if you see anything like that, you want to just make sure that you note it and you report it because it's not worth it. Absolutely it's not. So let me go back to our slide share. Okay, perfect. So that's it. Just know we have to assess efficacy, we have to assess safety. See, efficacy parameters, we have to specify that, at this point of the clinical trial, this is what we're looking at efficacy. Maybe month 1, they take the product, and then there are certain things. We collect blood, we do maybe some rating scales, right? To see, we rate them, maybe there are questionnaires they have to fill out. We look blood, of course, bio specimens are always important because, we see how the drug is interacting. Is it doing what it's doing? We also have conversations with the patients. What are you noticing? There are also ways to, for example, then there are also procedures that have to be done using specific equipment based on the type of clinical trial. Like in glaucoma, maybe their eye pressure, we notice that, there's a drop in their eye pressure as a result of the product and that type of thing. Okay, maybe it's an ulcerative colitis study. They have those diaries that patients write into, and they notice that they have less release. I call those my poop studies, because you're constantly measuring how many times you went to the bathroom. Did you go? What did it look like? Constantly. And when I I'm that way back when I was a CRA, I would have gloves and I'm looking at those diaries. Man, this was back in the day. So those are some of the things that we use to look at efficacy. I hope you guys get it. So efficacy, we are wanting to see that is this product actually working, and then we create certain things that we can use to measure it. So for example, like atopic dermatitis, maybe we're using some kind of cream for it, right? And then at the beginning of the clinical trial, we measure the what do you call those? There's a word for it. It will come to me. The spots, whatever they are. There's a way to measure that. Like, okay, so this particular spot here has, maybe it's like 3 centimeters, and then we notice, by the time that the patient has taken, this product, by month 3, it's gone down to 1 centimeter. Okay, fine, that's efficacy. We know that it's actually working. And then of course, we define that, right? How the timing, because we know how things get absorbed through the human body. So we want to time it in such a way, like we will not have a patient, let's say we have this, like the product I'm talking about, this cream to help with dermatitis. When the patient takes the cream, we actually have to time things in such a way that we can measure easily and not have, so where we can easily determine that the efficacy from our product, right? So if I take this cream and we say we're gonna, run this clinical trial for the next 6 months, and they will use that cream 4 times, but then we cannot have them come and measure, like say, okay, we're gonna measure the cream next year. We have to have all these parameters in place while the clinical trial is actually going on, right? Because we want to show that it actually works. Okay, so safety then is the flip side. In order for us to get efficacy, we have to make sure that, we're doing it the right way. So how are we going to ensure that patients are safe? So I will go back to the screen. We notice that as we're administering this cream to the patient, on previous trials, it was shown that if you administer the cream 3 times a day, they might have a burning sensation. And so in this clinical trial now, and then it also shows that if you have, maybe it's just like a teaspoon size you're supposed to administer. Anything above that is going to cause burning. The patient might have a rash. Okay, so we are aware of that. So then for safety, what do? We say, okay, good. We know that 3 times a day, we're going to this patient will get a rash, they'll get a burning sensation. And if they administer like a tablespoon of it instead of a teaspoon, the same thing will happen. So we say you're only supposed to administer it twice a day. So guys, our efficacy then is showing that this product administered twice a day actually works. The safety piece is that we have to ensure that it's only administered twice a day. And we have to make sure that that happens, because if anything occurs outside of that, then we're compromising the safety, right? So we can't just say, oh, it's fine, just put the cream on your body, it cures atopic dermatitis, just use it. Because you could say that, oh, use it whenever, right? When we know that if you overuse it, you're going to get a burning sensation. Or we say, oh yeah, just use it. And so when you're working with a clinical research site as a CRA, maybe there is a specific type of training that pertains to how this cream has to be administered. Maybe it's specific people who have certain certifications. So you see how everything builds up, right? it's specific people who are certified in a certain way who have to like train the patient. So as a CRA, you're looking at all those things. This is what we know that this product works and we want to prove that it works, but then are you following the rules for proving that it actually works? That's as simple as it is. So I hope you guys get this difference between efficacy and safety. Good. Okay, good. Perfect. So that's it for that one. And I'll pause here. Any questions before we go into our juicy topics for today, hot topics with Wallace D. Wattles? Any questions, Elizabeth? Liz? No.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
But you got it. Safety
Yes,
and efficacy, once you get it, because sometimes it's tricky, right? It's like, but what is efficacy? But they are the same thing. Like, oh no. You know what I mean? Yeah. It can be very confusing. I remember when I started way back in this industry, I used to say, but efficacy, I mean, it's just efficacious, right? So, but it has to be safe. And then I had a very good mentor who broke it down. He was he was my clinical counterpart, but he was she was in Boston. Clinical science, and said, Tengu, efficacy is proving that it works. Safety is ensuring that we have things in place to ensure that we're not harming anybody to prove that it works. I got it then. I just got it. I was like, oh, okay, good.
Is it possible that you also explain effectiveness? That's what I was saying. So it's, if efficacy and effectiveness are the same thing, but they're so, how effective is this product? You could switch efficacy and call it effectiveness. It is the same language, right? So how effective is this product in curing or managing the disease condition that we're actually studying? How effective is it, right? It's a little bit of a flip. So the effectiveness will be intertwined with efficacy, because let me go back to the cream. So how effective is this cream that I'm using in this clinical trial for atopic dermatitis? How do I know that it is effective? I know that when the patient rubs it on their on whatever spots, the parts of their body that they affected, it reduces it by maybe 3 meters goes to 1 meter. So that's the degree to which it is effective. It will reduce atopic dermatitis spots by 20%. You see what I'm saying? That's the effective piece. Okay, so efficacy is actually aiming for that. So it's going to reduce it. Efficacy is really the same thing, because the only difference is that efficacy are actually parameters that are defined, Elizabeth. That's the difference. So I know that the product reduces it. It's the effectiveness reduces it by 20%, but I have to now define the parameters by which we're actually going to manage that, right? If it reduces it by 20%, I talked about how many times do we administer it? It reduces it by 20%. We have to administer it twice a day. We have to collect blood. So those are the parameters that I've put in place to prove that this product actually works. Okay. Yes. So efficacy is just a measurable way to do it. Efficacy is actually a measurable way to prove the effectiveness of the product. That's just what it is, right? So I'm going to define all these parameters to show that this product will actually work, and when, and how many times you're actually going to take it. Okay. And then safety is, I'm going to make sure that, I am actually going to put certain procedures in place, whether it's training the patient to say, hey, you can't do it. You have to only take it twice a day. You can't take it 3 times a day. I'm also going to make sure that, I have certain rating skills where they can document that. I'm going to take blood to make sure that, hey, this patient, nothing else is actually going on. So that's it. That's a very good question. Really. Okay. So effectiveness, that's why we want to show that the drug is effective, but then we have to define efficacy parameters. It's just the same word, but more, I say, technical, right? We have how we measure the efficacy, how we show that is effective is by measuring the timing. Like I talked about timing, like when is the product administered? Maybe that cream, you only have to administer it in the effectiveness of the cream. The way that we're going to show that is effective is by putting an efficacy parameter where the product is only taken at night. Because maybe we've noticed that in a past study, it's amazing how,
clinical trials are just created. Maybe we've noticed that in the past 2 studies, when they take it at night, it works even better. So we know that it's more effective when the patient takes it at night. So the efficacy parameter in the protocol is that you have to take it PM, not AM. You got it? Okay, perfect. Now, let's go to the science of getting rich. So I'm going to recap. For the introduction, we talked about how these are the things that I've read that have actually really shaped my life. But we're talking about riches of the mind, the body, and the spirit. Money is involved also, but it's how do I have a rich thinking that allows for me to attract more abundance in my life. And every week I always say there is no economy but thinkonomics. The only economy is thinkonomics, how you think. That's the true economic. And then for anything that you do, you have to get the mental equivalent. Thinkonomics rules all, everything, right? And the whole point is that we want to live a fuller and richer life so that we can allow this universal energy, this divine energy to expand itself. Last week, and then let me go into the intro here again. I just remembered we had more. So I talked about expanding your mind, body, and spirit, but riches, you never want to confine it to the acquisition of money or material object. It's a minuscule portion of it. The ultimate richness is having a consciousness of riches, which means that you have a consciousness that is aligned with possibility. All things are possible. Prosperity and abundance can be in my life. I can be successful. I know that I am actually capable of doing that. So those are the type of riches. And we also always say every week, like Elizabeth knows, riches acquired in the material plane are here today and gone tomorrow. What that just means is that whatever physical objects that you acquire, if you don't have the prosperity mindset, they will go. Of course, because it has to first start in the mind, the thinkonomics, and then before it actually manifests in your world. But if you go around and grab things and then you start living in fear that you're going to lose it, right? Because if you haven't developed that mindset of saying, yeah, guess what, prosperity is within me and the world is just a reflection of the prosperity and the possibility that is within me, then you lose everything. And I've been there, by the way. You know, it's up and down, it's a cycle. Until I got this, it's okay, riches come, riches go, riches come, riches go. But the difference now is that even when that happens, it's not that, you know, I'm grabbing onto physical things. I already have the prosperity idea in me. It's different because then this is just a temporary thing. This is just something that's happening for me to learn more. But I'm talking about the no consciousness of prosperity whatsoever, and you're just hanging on to material things and hoping that those things will actually fill you, because they wouldn't. It's the other way around. So last week, and this is what we talked about, how riches flow to you. The first point was that riches are here, they're in your mind. They're not coming from Mars. They're not trucking resources from Mars to actually bring them here. They're within you, and it's something that it's within you that gets reflected into the world. The other thing that we talked about is if you want riches to flow to you and these prosperous ideas and, you know, and abundance and whatever you need, you have to make sure that you're not taking anything from anyone in a horrible way, driving sharp bargains, right? And you want to make sure that, you know, whatever you're doing is fair for society. The service you're rendering or the way that you're treating people is fair. And my favorite, which is my motto, I actually have it like, you know, written. I see it every morning. You always want to take more in use value than you provide in cash value. Because the way that life works is that as you grow in use value, which means that you're always giving people more, the money is going to try to keep up with you. That is the truth. If the money that or money or cash, whatever it is, if the riches that are coming to you are bigger than what the service you're actually providing, it's going to run out at some point. So you always have to make sure that whatever you're doing, whether it's family, friends, business, you're always giving people more than you ever take back from them. Right? That's how it's supposed to be. And again, guys, this is my motto. I thought I actually edited this business. Oh, sorry, you guys. I think I did something. I was going to do something. It's so funny. I was actually going to take this out, and then I did something else. Can you guys see my screen? Okay, rock stars. Good. So you do not need to beat anyone. I love this one. Let me go back to it. You do not need to beat anyone in business or work. And if you do, get out. You don't want to be in a business where they're encouraging you guys to compete against each other, fears, cut this person off, steal from them, steal their clients or steal their work. You don't want to do that. That's not how riches flow to you. The whole point of this conversation is that you want to make sure that you're light and empty and that there's nothing blocking the goodness, because it's not like the goodness, is something that is being stopped from coming from you. It's you or your ideas, the way you're in the world, the way you're treating people, that is actually blocking that from coming. It's already there. It is nothing that that is being created. It's already there. Okay. And so we always want to think about giving plenty to others, because the way that this universal mind works is that it's a formless substance. Whatever you imprint on it, that's what's going to reflect in your life. And guys, I'm going through the moment of, let me tell you something, you guys, we're all in this together. Since last year, the past 2 years were challenging because of my mom being sick. But I never stopped my morning practice. And now I'm going through the physical manifestation. I cannot tell you, like, just this week, the things that have happened, and then last week, it's just incredible. So because I've just practiced and practiced and practiced, I'm going through the state now where the physical manifestation is actually happening in my life. I think I mentioned this. I was thinking about tiger nuts. I'm like, oh, I got to eat tiger nuts. I went to my mother's place. She said, oh, I just ordered tiger nuts. That's a big box for you. Go pick up. It's just this manifestation. Then I was thinking about doing grilled mushrooms in my oven. She said, oh, hey, I have some mushrooms. Do you want some? It's just even just new opportunities, just new consulting opportunities that came. I've been working on them for a while. It's been a while. It's been delayed. And then all of a sudden, the week before last, I had the first one, and then it just popped. And it's just so, but I know it's because I've just been doing the work every day, getting up at 2:45 and 3 a.m., spending my days visualizing and working, right? So it's also, you get to the point where when you have created such a consciousness of abundance, those things start coming. You see them. It's like magic. I literally just close my eyes now and I'm like, oh my God, the magic is happening. Things are just falling into place. So that's what happens. So you want to allow the riches to flow to you because they're already there. You've already created them. There was a thing that the next thing that we're going to be studying after the Science of Getting Rich is Neville Goddard's The Power of Awareness. I mean, I've been listening to it since last year. I read it every single day. There was a part where he talks about how creation is finished. There is nothing that is being created. You're just becoming aware of it, right? You're just becoming aware of the blessings that we say God has for you, because it's not like this universe or God or source is taking away anything from you. He's giving you everything. But we spend so much time blocking ourselves. So I'm always working on myself. I remember I was standing here and I had a thought which said, I can't remember what it was. I've just gotten so good where I immediately just canceled it. Oh, I know why, because my schedule is very hectic right now. And I was saying, oh my goodness, am I going to be able to cope with this hecticness? And I just said, no, I will be able to cope with it. All is well. Everything will work out. And I just told myself that immediately, because I don't want to block. Maybe there is a way that, maybe there are other ways that things can get easy and my schedule will get a little bit better. But so it's just a constant thinking, how can I allow this to flow to me? There is this analogy that I get also where I close my eyes and I see pipes. So you have all these pipes that are around you and they're open on both ends. When you're feeling, a certain way, you're angry, fear, jealousy, anxiety, all the things that rule us human beings, I say, now the riches are flowing. Just imagine that there was like beautiful golden energy flowing through those pipes, and they're like, maybe this whole area is all these pipes that are open, they're coming towards you, and they're pipes of joy, abundance, riches, and wealth, right? They're constantly flowing. But the minute that we doubt and we suspect, our end, you're blocking your end. That's the visualization that I got when I came out from meditation one day. It's, if I doubt, if I don't think things are going to work out, if I don't think I can be of service the way that I want to, then I block my end. The riches are coming, but because my end is blocked, it's not gonna come to me, right? So that's it. So let's talk about the idea for today, and then this is our quote for last week. If you fix upon your consciousness the fact that the desire you feel for the possession of riches is one with the desire of omnipotence, for more complete expression, your faith becomes invisible. So it's something really simple. It's not that you're getting anything, it's just that you are completely expressing this divine energy. When you are living in lack limitation, and lack limitation has to do with ideas, people. I mean, really, lack limitation can manifest in many ways in your health, whatever it is, right? When we are actually living in that, it's just because we're not completely expressing the divine. It's not that it's your fault. I mean, it's just we have been conditioned on this planet to be in a certain way, to live in fear, doubt, limitation, be scared that the world is coming to an end. And this whole COVID business has not made it easy. You know, being like Liz, I had COVID too when it just came out. So without even knowing, but when fear, lack, and I'm so glad to this day, let me tell you guys something. I'm so glad I didn't know, because, I think to myself, I know that I'm always I'm always meditation and positive energy, but there's something about not knowing. Sometimes we don't need to know everything, right? Sometimes we don't need to know every single thing. But now, of course, I just got my booster. If something happens, I will have to go get tested, because our confidence in surviving COVID has grown, guys. You guys get it, right? The confidence that when somebody says they have COVID, now we're like, because of course you feel horrible. I mean, you could be hospitalized, but we know that the chances of anything happen to you have lessened. We have the vaccines. We have this new product that has come out to reduce the viral load for COVID, right? So those are the things. But it is the same way. Sometimes, think about how scared people were. So that's how we block all the goodness from coming, because we're in so much fear. I remember when COVID started, I was in so much fear, right? I mean, as much as I really believe that all things are possible, but normally every human being was just like, what is going on? I still did meditation and whatever I had to do, but we're blocking. Sometimes, those are the things that block things from coming to us. So week 4 is gratitude, just important. And I say gratitude is like, it's everything in life is 2 ends of the stick, right? The action and the reaction. So if something happens in my life, I have to decide, am I going to be grateful? Or am I going to, bitch and moan and groan like we say? I call it BMG, bitch, moan, groan about everything. So the BMG. So I am getting to the point where I now think, I'm even in gratitude for the things that I, are like, I don't want this to happen. I don't think this is great. That's what I'm learning. So I've been learning to even give thanks for the things that are challenging. And I, recently I started running again, and I had this thing going on with my hip. And at first I was like, what is going on here? And then I saw, my goodness, I'm going to give thanks because my body is getting stronger. And that's how my body is actually reacting. It's actually repairing itself. It's showing me that there's some parts of my legs that need to get stronger. So gratitude is a process of mental adjustment. Or the process of mental adjustment comes from gratitude. Just think about when you're going through a really difficult situation. I've had it happen so many times. All of a sudden, I switch from, I'm not going to complain, I'm going to give thanks. Your energy just shifts, because then you start saying, only good will come out of this. I don't know why this happened. My favorite thing is, I am where I am. It is what it is. What is this situation trying to teach me? So it's really a mental adjustment, because you could go down that road of blame and all that. Oh, I don't know why this happened. These people have done whatever they had to do to me. But then it's not easy, and I practice it all the time. But switching to, I will give thanks for this, because I know that this is something that is going to help me. I don't know how, and I don't pretend to know how, but I know it will work. And we can even look at situations in our lives that were so horrible, but you realize that because of that situation, everything in your life changed. So Wallace D. Wattle says that gratitude aligns your mind with the creative forces of the universe. I absolutely agree. I really agree. And B, probably might know about this. The 2 projects that I just got awarded, I have been working on them since last year. I was supposed to get awarded. Omicron happened, those got delayed. But I kept giving thanks, because Wallace D. Wattle says that whatever happens, you have to give gratitude, because what if the thing that you wanted so much that did not happen,
is actually good because the universe is now preparing something better for you. And make no mistake, that's exactly what is happening right now in my life. There's so many things that I went for, I bid for, I was not awarded them. But now it's, oh, I see why all of that happened. So we always want to stay in gratitude no matter what. And he says, be grateful even for the challenges. That's what I was saying. Because at the end of the day, when you look back on your life, you will notice that the biggest challenges that you've had, the best gifts have come out of it. There is a saying, I think it's in, what is it? I think it's Lao Tzu, or I can't remember who said this, about how it's not always that that bad comes out of good, right? So some things have happened in your life where it was so you thought this situation was going to be so good, things were flowing, and then the worst thing happened after that, right? I mean, we can relate to that. And then flip it the other way. You've had situations that you thought were so horrible, but good came out of it. So it's just two ends of the stick. You decide what you want to focus on. So it doesn't matter what is going on. He says that you have to keep giving gratitude for no matter what happens. Because at the end of the day, I'm currently reading Meta Human by Deepak Chopra, an incredible book. And he says how we just have to give gratitude because our cells, our nails, hair, and skin, those cells like basically regenerate every 3 days. You don't even know we're not doing it. So he says that we're walking around and there are all these cells that are emanating from us, that if you actually looked at us, really, we're just a bunch of cells, and they're dead ones that are just flowing behind you, right? You're moving forward, they're flowing behind you. And you don't do none of that. We don't do any of it. We don't, I mean, imagine every 3 days, these things are recycling, they're working. So can you imagine the gratitude that we have to have because of that? I was listening to a documentary and they talked about how, I knew that the earth spins on its axis, but I knew. And then I also knew that it's rotating around the sun. But the part that I hadn't thought about was that our galaxy is rotating around its center, and it takes 200 million years for it to come to the same spot. But in addition to that, we're being hurled through space. I mean, I think it's over 600. I think our Earth rotates. I think it's over 600 kilometers per minute, whatever it is. Don't quote me on that. But it rotates pretty fast, and they've actually had experiments where they show it. There are certain parts of the world where you can see how we're rotating. It's insane. All of that is happening, but we don't feel it. You don't feel. Gravity has us covered. We are spinning around this sun. It's always available. So those are the things that we want to think about. The reason why I'm mentioning this is that his point is that we don't even have to be grateful for big things, right? You can just be grateful for the fact that you can walk. There are people who can't walk, right? Whatever is in your life. And he says gratitude is the key to it all, because when you're grateful, that is the vibration that attracts all the things that you want in your life. Grateful. No matter what happens, I'm grateful. Okay. Here is our quote for today. First, you believe that there is one intelligent substance from which all things proceed. That's number one. And there was a quote for that, Liz, when you go into Thinkific, I think the session before last, you'll see there is a thinking substance from which all things are made. And then there's a whole statement about that, right? So first, you believe that there is one intelligent substance on which all things proceed. Second, you believe that this substance gives you everything you desire. Okay. And third, you relate yourself to it by a feeling of deep and profound gratitude. Those are 3 steps that he talks about. First, I believe that there was one intelligent substance. We know what it is. It grows the flowers. It beats my heart. It recycles my skin, nail, and hair without me doing it. It actually turns food to blood. I mean, we eat, right, Elizabeth? You eat, and then, fufu turns to blood. It turns to, I mean, like, right, Liz? You eat whatever and it turns to imagine that the whole body this is food that has changed so many things. So that's not us doing it. When you sleep at night, your heart is beating. You're not in control of that, right? So there is a substance from which all things proceed. And then it gives you everything you desire. So everything has already been given. When Neville Goddard says creation is finished, he says that there's already a prototype of everything. Now, to bring me to this world, I'm a manifesto queen. I know exactly. You just repeat, you visualize it over and over and over and over again, repeatedly. Remember, I talked about how you do it repeatedly, fixedly,
uninterruptedly and then for a continuous period of time. Guys, it works. It works all the time. I know how to do it. You just have to train your mind and you do it over and over and you will see it pop into a reality, right? You can try it by saying you want to see a red butterfly or something and then think about it, and it will pop. You will see it. It's just a matter of when you will see it, but it will pop. So it has already given you everything you desire. So by that, we're talking about the minute you desire something, it's already given. But we don't focus. I mean, our minds are all over the place, right? It's already given. And if you give profound gratitude with like a shadow of a doubt, and then you live as if you already have it, right? So the next one is, there are 3 steps, but I always say after you're giving gratitude, right? Because you know it's already given. When you ask, it is given. And it is given. And then you think about it over and over, but then you think about it from the perspective of, I already have it, not from I have to get it. How will I feel, think, what will I do because this thing has materialized in my life? And you have that feeling of profound gratitude. So that's what he's saying. These are the steps. There's a substance. I believe that it gives me everything I desire. And I relate to it with a profound sense of gratitude. And then in my case, I say, I act like everything that it has given me, I can really feel it. It's present. It's in my existence. Okay, you guys. So that is gratitude. Really key. No matter what happens, I know that, things will always work out. One of my affirmations is, things are always working out for me. It's a long one, so bear with me here. This is my gratitude. The first sentence I would say is, things are always working out for me. The second one is, even when I don't know it, things are always working out for me. The third one is, most of the time, things are working out for me. So it's a constant thing because it's a form of gratitude, right? Things are always working out. I might not know, I might not be aware, but things are always working out for me. Even when I'm not aware they are working out for me, oftentimes things do work out for me. But here's the kicker. I do not have to think about the conditions, whatever I'm going through, for things to work out for me. So things working out for me is not dependent on the struggles that I'm going through or whatever is happening in my life. It just always works out, right? That's real gratitude, that no matter what happens. And I heard this, that real gratitude is when I give thanks for all the conditions in my life, even when I don't have evidence of what I actually desire. That's true gratitude. Because it's easy to give thanks when things, like now, I mean, I've been giving gratitude for even the things, but things are really flowing right now in my life. And I'm like, woohoo, wow, finally, things are happening. It's easy to give gratitude. But I like the fact that I like it when challenges come and I give gratitude for them, because that gratitude is the doorway to everything. So yeah, a true gratitude is being in a state of profound thanks, even when the conditions have not changed, the things that you want in your life have not happened. That's real gratitude. And that is the way that all those things will actually come to you. So that's our week 4. Next week, we're going to talk about thinking in a certain way again, which I love. So now we're going to dive into energizing your desires with focus and directed thinking. Remember, I talk about it. How do you focus your thoughts? Okay. It is just practice, because I've had it where I do this. You guys know about this. I've talked about it in previous coaching calls, where the minute I get up in the morning, before I even start opening my eyes, right now it's focus. It's just, I actually repeat it over and over and over. For me, my focus now is, how can I have more ease as things are piling up? How can I have more ease and enjoy the process? Because it's really all about our journey, Once we get to the destination, that's the beginning of a new destination. So it's really, how can I enjoy this journey more? How can I really give as much of myself as I can in a way that benefits people? So we're going to talk about your energizing your desires with focus and direct thinking. Nothing that I coach and talk about or that I practice is easy. It is not, because there's so many distractions. And so you sitting on this call, we are the few people who have these ideas, who are willing to actually practice them. Many people have given up. I was just having a conversation the other day with my trainer, and she was saying, there are a bunch of our clients who've dropped out. They've just given up. The people who are like, this Omicron and COVID, they can't take it anymore. And they've really given up. Like, they're not making any effort whatsoever. When this is the time to re-engineer who we are. What a blessing that we now have Zoom, and all these webinar platforms and meeting platforms that we can all meet and talk to each other. Before, this would not have happened, right? So this period is a time for us to re-engineer who we are. And how do we re-engineer who we are? It's by absorbing these kinds of ideas and implementing them in our lives. So again, there is no economy in the world except thinkonomics. The economy of your thought. That's the only economy that exists. And that is the economy that is going to drive your whole life, your thinking. So we're going to talk about thinking in a certain way. So the first principle was what? Thinking in a certain way, which is how to think, right? It was how you think. And then the second one was increasing life. So we're talking about how this universe, this universal intelligence, God's source, it wants to expand itself. That's what it's here for. And if it's not expanding itself in your life, it's because you're blocking it. So let it express itself. Okay. And then, of course, the third one was how riches flow to you. We just talked about gratitude. Then we're going to go to thinking in a certain way again, a different aspect where now, how do we think in a certain way? We know we're supposed to think in a certain way. We know it's economics. How do we direct our thoughts so that we can actually have those desires come forth in the way that we want? This stuff works. It only, like Reverend I would say, it doesn't work if you're not working it. But it works. It works. It really works, you guys. The one thing that I'm very clear about is that I until I see the results, I never give up. I don't care how long it takes. I do it over and over and over and over again because I know that it works. And when it pops, when the magic starts, it's just boom. It really is. When that magic starts, it really is. And the other thing is sometimes we do lose momentum. I have been always in momentum. And like I said, these past 2 years, even doing what I do every single day, the momentum was a little bit hard because, as you guys know, we have to deal with different challenges in life. I might have a sick parent. I might have a sick child. There's things that are going on and I have to get up in the morning and I have to do all these things. The momentum that even though I'm doing it, that momentum might not be as large as when things are working. But you don't give up. You keep doing it over and over and over. And until the point where this physical manifestation of whatever you're doing will pop. And you're not doing it for the physical manifestation, of course. You're doing it because this universe has to express itself through you. That's all what it's here for. And Tony Robbins will say, the ultimate thing in life, happiness is progress. If you want to be happy, you have to keep progressing. That's just it. There's no two ways. If you don't progress, you're going to be stagnant and you're going to be sad in your life. So happiness is progress. You got to progress. You got to move forward. Okay, ladies, deep dives. That's it for today. I think I've said it all. You know what? I always think I've said it all. When I'm coming to coach, I have so much to share. And I say I've said it all, but then next week it's something new that comes up. So let's just say that I am complete today. I'm complete. That's what I would say. Okay. Any questions? Any comments? All righty. Oh my goodness, you guys are rock stars.
So far, so good. Nothing much.
Good. It's getting in there.
Yes.
You're welcome. It's getting in there.
This is more easier. This is more easier to understand than the previous ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, why? By the way, I thought about this for years. I always refer to the Yoga Sutras because the first time that I started studying the Yoga Sutras, book 1, the Samadhi Pada, book 2, which is absorption and concentration, book 2, the Sadhana Pada, the practice of the Pada, book 3 is the Vibhuti Pada, which is power, superpowers you get, and then book 4 is the Kavaya, liberation Pada. I remember when I started reading, I said, now see, I can even say it. I can actually teach somebody the Yoga Sutras. I remember when I read Sutra 1, Hatha Yoga Anushasana, I said to myself,
They talked about the klesas, the vritis, the sapati. I was like, what is this about? I had no idea. But now when I read it, the meanings just keep coming. So that's why I say we have to do what? We have to, it's repetition is the key to excellence and success. I've seen it. So this Science of Getting Rich, I started listening to it back in October. I've always read it. I've read it probably like 100 times, but since October of last year, I've been listening to it every day, sometimes twice a day. Because for me to teach it to you guys, I really want to absorb it, have it sit into my veins where I'm just spitting it out. Same thing with Neville Goddard's book. So we do it repeatedly. It's fixedly, right? I focus on it and I do it repeatedly and I do it continuously without interrupting it. And then at some point, everything in your body just becomes that. Like your way of thinking becomes that. So I am an immersion person. And then there's a book that I also have been reading for the past 3 years. It's a very small book. And USquare actually taught it in one of those webinars. I've been reading it every single day now for the past 3 years. Every single morning. Like, so when you keep repeating it over and over and over, and that's why I'm making sure that you guys get so much, even with the clinical trial space. We're going back into the protocol, we're diving, so that it becomes a part of you. When you're sitting maybe at your facility, you're at a clinical research site, and you look at a document, you don't even have to think because you've heard this information so long that, all the solutions just come forth. The way that you look at the document, let's just say you get some adverse events that some sites have reported, you're sitting in your office. I know you guys will do QA, or maybe you have to compare certain adverse events and, you have to look at certain data sets and analyze them. Because you've heard this stuff so many times, when you see one thing, your mind has a completely different way of looking at it versus somebody who's not part of this coaching call. They haven't been studying success ideas. So guess what? You take a look at it and the solution comes up like that because you've already primed your mind. And that's the key here. We want to get to the point in life where our minds are so primed for solution versus issues, right? And how do you do that? These ideas, understanding this industry that we're in, right? Clinical trials, in such a way that you can just spit it out to somebody. You look at a document, now after this protocol analysis, when you take a protocol now, you already know the flow, right? Right. The first week, you see Liz, I talked about how a protocol is structured, the flow of the protocol. It's just so wonderful because then it's easy. And all of that documents come from the protocol. So that's what it is. We're setting a foundation for you to understand these technical things, but also the success side. So your mind is poised for great ideas, for resolving things. I know the people who get paid the most in the world, the people who make the most amount of money, they just solve big problems. They're solving massive problems. That's all. That's all what it is. Somebody said, but a teacher gets paid less than a football player. There's a reason why the football player, because of him, how many people are employed in football? I mean, think about, all the different groups and the leagues. And how many people are being employed for that because of what that football player is doing, right? You have the stadium, right? You have the referees, you have, a whole league where they're paying people, there's fans who come in. I'm not saying that a teacher is not equally important. We all know teachers are incredible. I'm a teacher myself, I coach. But I'm not going to complain that the football player gets paid 100 million, within 3 years because they have a bigger impact, right? They're solving a bigger problem and they're solving a problem of entertainment with millions of people, right? They're entertaining millions of people. So that's really what life is about. The more solutions you provide and the more that you scale up to provide this solution to many people, that's how your life will transform. And I've also mentioned this in the webinar. I'm going to repeat it. So this week on the Facebook Live, I'm going to talk about goal setting. I'm talking about, there's the story of the mosque deer, which I will talk about on there. But one of the things that I'm also pushing everybody in this group is to think how you can help and coach other people because we're all teachers. And so if you have knowledge and you're keeping that knowledge, you have to really ask yourself, like, who can I give this? I mean, really, we're all teachers. We have to pass this knowledge on, whether it's coaching people at work or somebody, you speak up at work. There is something that you know, maybe the team doesn't know, you provide a solution for it because you know this knowledge. So this is important. We have to keep outflowing. We inflow, we outflow to the world. And not thinking about money, because the money will come. But it's how much am I giving? Am I giving life, this infinite universe, more in use value than I'm taking in cash value? The world is not here. I tell my nephews all the time, I tell them, nieces and nephews, the world is not here to give you anything. It wasn't created to give you anything. You are created to give to the world. That's what you're here for, to unleash your skills, your talents, and capacities in the midst of whatever challenge it is that you're facing. And if that is your goal, no matter what happens, you always be okay. You might have challenges, they will eventually go away. That's it. So yeah, we are on track. We're doing good. Please make sure to go listen and get your protocol ideas and training. It's all in there in Thinkific, one-stop shop, so you don't have to go anywhere else. Okay. Good points, Elizabeth. So we're going to end today. Sunday, you guys, I do the Sunday live, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's when it happens. And this week is going to be very juicy. So feel free to, and then it gets posted after. I didn't realize it posts automatically. I had to repost it. It gets posted after. So you will see it.